Hey, it's Chelsea. I'm so glad that you decided to download my metabolic food guide. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to it in this video so you can dive right into the content whenever it hits your inbox. And really, this is going to be including a metabolic typing quiz. And what that does is it teaches you more about your metabolic type and really how you process specific carbs, fats, and proteins. And trust me, you're not going to have to count any calories when you're going through this, but healthy eating has really become pretty overwhelming. And we think that we have to do all these sophisticated things or we're just getting it wrong, right? And the truth is that healthy eating is not about limitations. It's really about eating food that makes you feel great, leaves you satisfied, and gives you an abundance of energy and the results that you want in your weight and metabolism. And that's really the goal of this guide. So the quiz is going to be really short. It's about 10 questions long, and it tells you whether you're a protein type, a mixed type, or a carbohydrate type. And you're going to be able to see whether or not you need to be consuming mostly protein or mostly carbs, or if you're kind of somewhere in the middle. And most people are really not aware of the fact that proteins, carbs, or fats, they really have a direct impact on us, but they truly do. And we think about like the Eskimos and things like that. Those people are going to thrive on more high fat diets, more protein rich diets. There really are not a lot of fruits and things available to them. And we think about like South Americans, they're going to thrive mostly on a carbohydrate rich diet. But what happens is we kind of just eat however we think we're supposed to eat. And we fail to realize that we do have a very specific metabolic type. And this type can change and it can be altered a little bit over time. But once you learn how to balance your plate appropriately, you're going to be able to figure all of that out. So just to kind of give you a little bit of insight into the guide, on I think page 4 of the guide, you're going to be able to see a little bit of information on how to balance your plate according to your metabolic type. So if you look in the first column, you're going to write down everything that you ate for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You're going to choose one meal and you're going to break it down into the ratios that you learn about on the previous page. And then you're going to assess your satisfaction, your energy level, and your mood. And then with your satisfaction, for example, if you feel full and satisfied, you're going to be marking that down as one of your positive reactions, or maybe you have a negative reaction. Maybe you feel like you're physically full, but you feel still kind of hungry, right? And the guide is really going to tell you, well, if you're feeling physically full, but you still feel kind of hungry, then that means you may have had too much fats and proteins. Now, I'll tell you, the easiest way to do this is really to have a similar meal every day for breakfast until you really kind of figure that out. So if you had 2 eggs for breakfast and the guide told you that you had a little bit too much fat and protein, well, the easiest way is just to remove one of the eggs. And if you still need a little bit more food, then add in a little bit more carbohydrates and proteins. So this is going to make a lot more sense when you start diving into the guide, but I did want to give you that little piece of information. And then you're also going to learn about just the different foods that are really nutrient dense. I want you to think about eating things that are made from the earth, not necessarily those things that are packaged or processed, and really eat organic, grass fed, wild caught, pasture raised when possible. And there's another guide on there that's going to give you insight into some of the really healthy, nutrient dense foods that you should be consuming on a regular basis. We're going to wrap up the guide with a few different pages where you can track your results. So make sure that you use those. You can print out extra copies of that just so you can get an idea. And you're going to be able to really assess what you learned from the different meals. And I also want you to connect with me. I have a Facebook group that teaches amazing things like this every single day. If you're not a part of Love Yourself Back to Help, there is a link within the guide on the very last page, as well as access to my book, Healed His Way. So if you want to access those things, please make sure you check those out as well. And I look forward to seeing you happy, healthy, and whole.